Let's go to CommSec. Tom Piotrowski. If you could, Tom Piotrowski, would you want to go on Virgin Galactic and see space if you could afford it?
Oh, look, I'd probably wait for another 20 years, Pete, so they can iron out the wrinkles in the technology, to be honest.
I would definitely agree with you there. Now, let's talk about the markets. How are we looking today?
Look, Pete, it's an interesting day that we're presented with because last night we threaded the needle on an important risk event with the US inflation report, the Consumer Price Index. That was a well-behaved set of numbers by and large. You had the headline rate of inflation come in at 3.2%, slight advancement compared to the last month, but it was just below the market's expectations. Importantly, the core rate of inflation, which is what we hear so much about in terms of the deliberations of central bankers, that came in at 4.7%, again, just slightly below the market's expectations. So we really dodged a significant bullet in that regard. The fortunes of the stock market were doing quite well in early trade. We had gains of more than 1% for the respective indices, but then we heard from Mary Daly, who's the head of the San Francisco Federal Reserve, and she spoke about the need for more to be done when it comes to getting inflation under control. Suggested that interest rates would have to stay higher for longer, and that just took the wind out of the market sales, and we saw flat results across the board. The S&P 500 was flat, the Dow Jones up by around 0.2%, and the Nasdaq was up by only 0.1%. And within all of that, even though the inflation numbers were well behaved, we saw a bit of a bump higher for both short and long-term interest rates. So 10-year government bonds, for example, up by 9 basis points in yield terms to 4.1%. That's actually a decent move higher, particularly under the circumstances. So today the futures are pointing to a loss of around 0.3% for the local share market. We've got quite a few companies reporting their earnings, including the REA Group, the bellwether in relation to real estate classified. So that'll be looked at quite carefully. And then, as you suggested in the headlines, Pete, it'll be the last opportunity that Governor Lowe will have to have a chat with the politicians in Canberra. There'll be quite the cast of officials there with him, including the heir apparent to his role, Ms. Bullock. So this will be an expansive conversation, which could have a bearing on the markets and indeed the currency in particular.
Okay, yep, and we'll be live to Trudy at the top of the hour. Thanks, Tom. Talk to you soon.